Ladies and gentlemen, today I really have some time to play with my makeup, so I am gonna do a skull. Some time ago I got the idea that I want to do a fancy skull. I haven't done one in a while, and I think they still look cool. But number one, I didn't want to just do a classic skull again. I want to make it funky, make it colorful, make it something different. Also, I don't live alone right now because we're all quarantined together and I don't want to do a full skull and then sit at the dinner table with it. So now is the perfect opportunity because I have time, and after this I'm gonna go shower so I can wash it off if it's a disaster. Now I can't guarantee it's gonna go well, but I can tell you it's gonna be fun and we're gonna try it. So I'm gonna let the voiceover take you guys away. So I decided to do a full face of makeup underneath the skull makeup. So the first thing I started out with was my primer, and I made sure to rub it in all over my face before going in with my foundation. I took the regular 2 pumps and then applied it all over my face with my beauty blender, making sure that I start out with a blank canvas to draw on. I then used concealer to hide the bags underneath my eyes. I also applied some between my brows and on my eyelids before blending it all out with my damp beauty blender again. And for some reason I still put concealer lines around my mouth. Next up, to add to the full coverage, I'm using my foundation powder to set my face instead of my translucent setting powder. I'm then whipping out my Shade and Light palette, and I'm going to use a light color to set underneath my eyes and to make sure that area looks nice and flat. This really helps to hide darkness underneath your eyes and to make that area look more flat. And then I started contouring. I decided to contour around my lips, but this was mostly out of habit and it wasn't necessary for the skull I was doing today. However, contouring my nose was necessary because you're still going to be seeing my nose at the end of this. I then applied some in the hollows of my cheeks, and I really wanted to make my face look more on the skinnier side of things, even though my cheeks will be covered by what I do later. But to add to the hollowed out face look, I also applied some contour on my temples and then also went around my forehead. Soon I'm gonna go in underneath my jaw, and I'm also gonna blend it down my neck, and then of course you have to make sure to blend all of it out. I blend out initially with my contouring brush, and then I go back in with my trusted kabuki brush and do all the fine tuning. Onto my brows, I first comb them out. I tweezed and shaped them today, so I'm very happy with them. And then I'm gonna go in with my normal brow kit and fill them in. For this, I just pick up a dark brown eyebrow powder and an eyeliner brush and follow the shape I have. I want my brows to look normal because I want the top half of my face to look normal. For highlighter, I decided to go in with this bright and white highlight instead of the normal rose gold I go for because I really wanted the highlight to pop. And I applied it underneath my brows, in the inner corners of my eyes, on my cheekbones, and on the bridge of my nose. I want the top part of my face to look normal, so I put highlighter in all the normal places, but didn't put it on my cupid's bow because I knew I'd be drawing over it later. I then set all of that with some setting spray to make sure none of that's going to move around and that I have a sticky base to draw on. I picked up an eyeliner brush and some brown shadow and started sketching out the shape I wanted. I'm referencing a picture of McDrew to get the shape. And then the color I kind of went ham, but for now I'm kind of hollowing out above my temples because I want to make my forehead smaller and it looked like that part is sunken in. And it took a second to make sure both sides are even, but I kind of went back and forth until I had it. I wasn't too worried about the lines because I knew I was going to be coloring in the inside and covering whatever you're seeing. I then also made lines by the lips to kind of open the split of my mouth a bit more, and then I connected that up to my jaw. Now, of course, this isn't a natural bone shape, it's a bit of an artistic twist on it, but I did like the look of it. I did overshoot the line a bit as well, but luckily you can just rub that away. I then wanted to connect the lower jaw, so I started the line near my mouth, took it back, and then took it up to the upper jaw I drew. Again, I'm taking inspiration from a picture McDrew did on Instagram. I then wanted to white out my lips a bit more so they didn't stand out, so I put some concealer on them before going back to shade in all the areas I had carved out. For this, I picked up a black eyeshadow on a flat shader brush and just outlined the shapes I drew before. I then went in with a flat yet fluffy brush and buffed the black out into the hollowed out areas. I wanted the part where my eyes are to stay clean and the shadow to be around that part, as if that part is separate from the rest, so I shaded towards the outside of that. And at first I just blended out the black I had already applied, but after that I picked up a little bit more to get the shadow a little bit more intense. It might look like a lot, but you're doing the same thing all over the place once you have the shape down. So once you get in the groove of it, it's pretty easy to go with it. I then took a fluffy blending brush and blended that out more so that the black faded. And that's because I didn't want to color in the hollowed out pieces black, but I did want them to be dark. I also kind of just shaded out the whole back of my jaw, as you can see there. And of course I colored in the hollows on my cheeks. I then picked up a purple shadow on that flat yet fluffy brush and ran it over all the black because I wanted this skull to be a purple toned skull, but it wasn't all as pigmented as I wanted it to be, so I had to go in with more purple after this. However, this hint of purple over the black definitely made the shading match the rest of the look. Next, I picked up this jelly shadow from Wet n Wild. It's supposed to be some glitter shadow with a jelly base, but I use it as an eyeshadow base, and I then use my finger to tap it on over all the areas where I want it to be more purple. This is because when I go in with the shimmer colors and tap it on top of that jelly, it's going to stick and come out really pigmented. The reason I decided to go in with shimmer colors at the end of the day is because it catches light and adds dimension to the look, and it just takes the look to another level. I then whipped out my trusty eyeliner and sharpened it a bit before going in with the teeth. Honestly, at this point, I was kind of at a loss how to continue, so I decided to just get started on the teeth because that is a big part of the look. And for that, I drew straight lines up and down on my lips, and after I have the teeth as long as I want them to be, I then went in with slanted lines to kind of round off the teeth at the bottom. I also made sure to color in the inner lining of my lips so that you didn't have any pink coming through in the middle. I picked up some black eyeshadow on an eyeliner brush and went over those lines to make them darker, to diffuse them a bit, and to make it more smudgy. By smudging it out, you add these little tips at the end of the teeth, and I really do enjoy that effect. It also reduces the risk of the eyeliner smudging around because you now set it with a shadow. I picked up some more purple eyeshadow with the same brush I used and then went over the black ends of the teeth and blended it down even further. I wanted the mouth to be big and dramatic, so this really helped to draw it out without having ridiculously big teeth. It's a little hard to work around your nose, but I just dragged the teeth up at the sides of my nose. I then picked up more of that jelly shadow on the back of my tweezers so I can scrape it out and place it precisely within the teeth I drew. And then I picked up that shimmer white highlighter and packed it on the jelly shadow. That really helped the highlighter stick well, and it came out like a silver shimmer instead of just a highlight. And later this will tie the teeth in with the eyeshadow look I do. I then went back in and played more with the shading around the teeth and stretched it out further to make it more dramatic and more messy. I then picked up my black eyeliner again and went over the lines on my face because I found they weren't defined enough. I wanted the black of the eyeliner instead of the black from the shadow. And drawing this on after shading everything makes sure you get a really defined line, as opposed to a line you blended out when you did all your blending. The teeth weren't popping enough for me at this point, so I whipped out some of my eyeliner and went over the outlines of the teeth. I wasn't focusing too hard on making it neat because I did want it to have a messy look to it. I then whipped out this metallic purple lipstick of mine that I never use and used it to do little purple dots around the lines on my face. These ended up looking like little rivets keeping my face together, and it gave the skull a manufactured look that I quite enjoyed. I then felt like something was missing at the jaw, so I decided to just draw an eyeliner line to define my jaw, and then I blended that line out with some black shadow and then some purple shadow. I then went back to that highlighter and applied it on the little patch of my cheekbones you can still see to really make that pop. Finally, it's time to move on to the eyeshadow, and here I started with a really skinny brush and picked up some black eyeshadow. I colored in the outer half of my lower lash line before drawing out a cut crease on my lid. Once I had everything placed down, I picked up a flat yet fluffy brush that I'd been using a lot in this look and used it to blend everything out first and then to add a bit more color. I also used it to connect the lower lash line to the wing I drew on the upper lid. I then picked up some purple eyeshadow to blend out the black so that the purple theme I had going everywhere else was also incorporated into the eyes. I then went back to that sticky eyeshadow and used it as an eyeshadow base and colored in the entire area I left clear on my lid to create a cut crease. And then after that I went back in with that white highlighter and really packed it on to get it to pop as much as the teeth. This is also the part where I really cleaned up that cut crease and made sure it had the shape I wanted. But ultimately I went back in with a bit more black on an eyeliner brush and used it to carve out the cut crease because I wanted there to be a bit more black behind the silver. So after I applied that, I blended it out with a flat shader brush to get the eyeshadow look more intense. Because the whole idea behind this look was intensity and the eyes had to match the rest of the face. Because let's be honest, this is not like your normal makeup look where you have dramatic lips, you can't have dramatic eyes. After blending that black out with a bit more purple, I grabbed my trusty eyeliner again and filled in my waterline as well as tightlined. And then I went in with liquid eyeliner and drew a wing. I curled my lashes and put some mascara on them in preparation for some false lashes, because this look definitely called for some false lashes. I also feel like you can't see your lashes with just mascara on. It's never enough. I'm using these cruelty-free eyelashes by Eyeshadow and I really enjoy them because number one, they're really cute, and number two, you can reuse them a number of times. But how I apply my lashes is I drop them on the outer corner of my eye and then place them all the way to the middle. And then once they're in place, I push on them and make sure they're positioned correctly. So finally, now that I was done with the face, it was time to move on to my hair. I thought I would brush it out, but ended up enjoying the messy look it had initially. So I decided to scratch the brushing idea and just leave it how it was. And then this is the final result. It is about a mile from what I was planning, but I don't hate the final result, and I definitely enjoyed the process. If you haven't just played with your makeup recently, I would recommend you do it. I tend to forget how fun it is until I do it again. But now I definitely have to wash my brushes, so stay tuned for that video. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed making it, and I look forward to seeing you again next time. Bye! Oh shoot.
What's wrong?
I misplaced my other lash. Where'd it go? It already has glue on it. I already have the one on my